Thank you very much. I thought today what we would talk about is preserving and protecting your assets for future generations. And the question is, do you really need estate planning? Because estate planning is what people do in order to get their assets in order and pass them on to future generations. So the question we're going to be answering today is, do you need estate planning? So to start off with estate planning, we have to look at estate taxes, because a lot of times estate taxes are what drives estate planning. Estate taxes are the money that is collected by the government for the privilege of you being able to transfer your assets to your heirs. You're allowed to give a certain amount away to your heirs tax-free, and we'll look at that in a minute. Most people participate in estate planning in order to avoid or reduce their estate taxes. Who's aware of the recent tax law changes? Everybody knows that in December, Obama signed a new tax law bill. Richard Smith is going to be discussing the details of that later on this evening. But what I want to concentrate on are the recent estate tax law changes. Effective January 1, 2011, you are now able to give away $5 million tax-free during your lifetime and at your death. Married couples can give away $10 million tax-free. Now, the law put this in effect for 2 years. In December, before this tax bill was signed, we weren't sure what was going to happen with the estate tax laws. That's going to come about again in 2 years. So that the government's going to have to do something within 2 years in order to either extend these exemption amounts, reduce them, increase them, do something. But they'll expire in 2 years. So, if you can give away $5 million estate tax-free, do you think you need estate planning?
If you're going to live more than 2 years.
If you're going to live more than 2 years, correct. You might want to think about that. But most people would say, well, maybe I don't need it. So let's take a look at what most people believe. Only wealthy people need to worry about estate planning. Estate planning is simply a matter of deciding who gets what. I don't have a taxable estate, so I don't need estate planning. My family will know what to do with my stuff. And estate planning is expensive. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore why these myths are wrong. We're going to look at what the benefits of estate planning are, putting aside the benefit of reducing or eliminating estate taxes. If we assume that everybody in this room falls within the $5 to $10 million that they can give away tax-free, are there other benefits for you doing estate planning? You can avoid probate. What's probate? Probate is a court process by which you are able to transfer your assets to your heirs. The average cost of probate is 5 to 7% of your gross estate. Who knows what a gross estate is? Basically, it's the total value of your assets. So if you have $1 million and you have a $900,000 loan on your assets, what's your gross estate? No, that's your net estate. Your gross estate is $1 million, and that percentage gets applied to that $1 million. So you have a net estate of $100,000, and it'll cost you $50,000 to $70,000 to get those assets to your heirs. An estate of $6 million will incur probate fees and costs of $300,000 to $420,000. And depending on the title of your assets, it might cost you double probate fees. Once to get the assets when you die to your spouse, and then you pay again to get the assets from your spouse to your children. So if your gross estate is $6 million, you may be paying $600,000 to $800,000 in probate fees. Estate planning can avoid probate and all its costs and fees. Not doing proper estate planning is expensive. Do you have real estate in multiple states? You need to open a probate in every state where you have property if you don't do proper estate planning. That means you get to hire a lawyer in every single state where you have property. You pay probate fees and costs in every one of those states. And each state may have different rules on who gets your property. If you don't have a will and you don't have a trust, the state is going to look at the property in that state and the laws of that state and determine who gets that property. Those laws may vary state to state. Estate planning can avoid multiple probates, along with all the fees and costs, eliminate the need for multiple lawyers, which is always a good thing. Whoops. And avoid the possibility of different laws being applied in different states. Are you married? Who's married in this audience? Okay. If your assets are not titled properly, your spouse may need to pay capital gain taxes on the sale of any assets after your death. With proper planning, you have the ability to obtain a step-up in basis of those assets to the fair market value at death of the entire asset, not just half the asset, and you can avoid all of the capital gain taxes on the sale of assets. Who has aging parents? Do they depend on you for their support? If you're gone, your spouse may not have the same incentive to support your mother as you do. How well does your mother and your spouse get along? Estate planning can allow you to set aside money for the support of your parent during their lifetime, and then at their death, that money is available for your spouse and your children. But you know that your parent is going to be provided for with proper planning.